Hello, everyone. This is the greatest travel podcast in the universe, possibly. I'm your host, Fraser Laveay, InspireTravelEat.com, and I am ranting travel issues from security screenings to other travelers to airlines to TSA, and hopefully this doesn't get me on some sort of security no-fly list. Watch, I do this, and then all of a sudden I'm like, can't go anywhere after this airs. But yeah, I've had enough. We've all had enough, and it's time someone did something about it. I will be your Robin, or your Batman, or Robin Hood. That's where I was going with Robin Hood. First of all, Avianca. I'm not going to swear this early into the podcast, but I just flew you, and you charged me $350 for 2 checked bags. Not overweight bags, just checked bags. That is extortion and highway robbery. Speaking of extortion, they also charged me for water after they made me throw out my water before getting on the flight. Yes, you heard that correct. I had water. I went to the gate in Guatemala City. They made me empty out and throw out my water. I then got on the 6-hour flight and asked for water, and they said no. They were going to charge me. Charge me for water that they made me throw out. They did not allow me to have water on the plane. That has to be extortion, right? That is the most bullshit thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm stubborn. I'm not paying for water. You have to give me water. This is, where are we? This isn't some sort of Mad Max or Water World where water you can't get unless you kill someone for it. It's insane. And $350 for bags? Avianca has this dumbass rule where if you don't pay for your bags 2 days in advance, 48 hours, they just charge you whatever they feel like. The woman literally said, oh yeah, it depends on the flight times and the day and how busy it is. I was like, what? It is 4 a.m., Gloria. And here she is putting on a glove, snapping it, and right fisting me. So I can't even get on this flight without paying $350 for bags? My flight was $550. This was insane. Avianca, I hate you. I'm never flying you again unless I have to. And Tag Airlines, you're next. Tag is some shithole airlines. It's the spirit of Latin America. I get there. Again, my fault for Avianca and for Tag for not checking these things beforehand because I didn't think it was this egregious. I have $50 for bags. I don't give a shit. $80, fine. $100, yeah, I get it. Tag Airlines, I show up and they're like, oh yeah, you owe $3 per pound of your bags. And I was like, what? I'm flying Guatemala City to Flores, which is like an hour flight. And $3 per pound, I'm like doing the math. Whoa. So I was like, I started putting stuff in my carry-on, my backpack. And they said, oh, that only has a max of 10 pounds. So I have a 10-pound carry-on. And then my checked bag that I'm carrying around my whole trip was going to cost like $150 just for maybe $137, let's say. Oh my God. I almost went full like Joey from Friends where he like just puts on all of Chandler's clothes and then does lunges. Because that's where I was like, I just had a long travel day. People were annoying me. And this was kind of the, I don't think crescendo is the word I'm looking for, but this was what really set me off. So I almost put on all my clothes and just wore it, but it was really hot. And they don't AC that airport. So, yeah. So I hate you two. Now going on to some of my, I'll stop with things that piss me off the most. Travelers, when you get your luggage at the carousel, back the fuck up. Back up. 6 feet minimum away from where people get their bags. Why are you standing right next to it? I'm trying to, like, I stand way away and I see my bag. I walk up to it, get it, walk out. Why are we crowding the carousel? There's tons of space. Move away from it so other people can get their bags easily. I took my bag off the other day and it like brushed some dude and he looked at me like I hit him in the head. And you know what? At that point, I wish I did. I just paid $350 for this fucking bag and not served water and spent 8 hours in LAX, which I'll save LAX for after, but I hate you, LAX. And he's mad at me that I couldn't get my bag off the carousel without hitting him because this asshole was just standing in the way. Get away from the carousel, please, everyone. Back up 6 feet. Does that save you time? What are you doing? What are we doing here? That doesn't make any sense. This is 10 times worse than the people who stand up instantly when the seatbelt sign goes off. That makes zero sense. I don't care because I'm not standing. If anything, the people give me more space in my seat when they get up and they stand like weirdos. So unless you have like some sort of blood clots where you need to be walking a lot, why are you standing up? Again, I don't care because it gets out of my way, but it's just really weird and annoying. Those ones really bother me. The other one, TSA or security screening, whatever it is, when you change the rules all the time and then you look at me like I'm the asshole. Like sometimes I can take my shoes off. Sometimes I can keep my computer in my bag. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can do this. Sometimes like you just move the goalposts all the time and then treat me like I'm the scumbag. When I flew 2 days before and you changed the rules. So why just can we get some consistency? And the USA is the worst. My friend said it. He was like, flying anywhere in the USA. Everywhere else, like in Guatemala, you can take water through security, but you can't to get on a flight to the US, which I just kind of ranted on about. Canada, you keep your shoes on most of the time. Sometimes you don't. Computers don't have to come out of the bag. Sometimes they do. Sometimes like I have a computer and a monitor, a separate monitor, a travel one. Sometimes I can put them on top of each other. Other times, like, no, they have to be in separate bins. Sometimes you have to put your bag in a box, or what are those fucking things called, in a tray. Sometimes it has to be outside the tray. And if you put it inside the tray, you're wasting their time outside the tray. It's like, sorry, Philip. At the other airport, I had to put it in a tray. I don't give a shit. I don't even want to do this. Also, Clear is a waste of money. Travel rant number 7. Clear is an absolute waste of money. Clear is like the Jehovah's Witnesses of travel. Like there's knocking at your door, giving you shit you don't want, forcing you to sign up for things. I don't know if since COVID, Jehovah's Witnesses have come back. I think that was like one of the good things about COVID. Lack of traffic. No Jehovah's Witnesses. And that was, I don't know. I could go on about that, but we won't. I had Clear for a year, and every time the regular line was longer than the Clear line. One time, it almost made me late, and I barely made my flight. It was absolutely insane, and I didn't realize that the Clear lane was going to take forever until like it was too late. I should have known. Like, it's almost my fault. Like I always knew something was up with Clear when Clear became like the hub. You had to download the app to do like a COVID check to get into concerts. That should have been the red flag. I blame myself. I should have known. Once they're messing around with that bullshit, that should have been it for me. I blame myself. What else? I can go on this rant of a story I have on these 2 flights, but we'll eating on a plane. We'll do general things and I'll go on my other rant. Eating on a plane is fine. Like some people are really against it. Maybe not seafood or like stuff that's really smelly per se would be great, but I get it. I've been hustling from one flight to another and just grabbing whatever I can because I've got a 6-hour flight and I haven't eaten. So I don't hate on people eating food. Try not to make it like salmon or something that smells up the whole place. But if you have to eat, don't hate people who eat, I guess. So leave them alone. People take their shoes off. I'm fine with that. Only if you're fully washed and clean. Like me, I will pack up all my stuff I'm going to wear the next day. I have my Nike breathable socks. I don't think they make anymore. You need to bring those back, Nike, or hook a guy up. I'll shower in the morning, put on my travel clothes, and then I'm gone. So I'm all clean. My shoes will go off instantly. I want to be comfortable on this long-ass flight. So comfort, priority. Now, let's say if you're in New York on some business meetings all day, wearing some pumps, and then you gotta catch the red eye back after 10 hours of meetings, you gotta keep those pumps on, sis. I'm sorry, Tiffany. You just gotta keep those shoes on. You too, Stuart. Keeping those, I don't know, whatever shoes you're wearing, those have to stay on. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Maybe do some sort of like, you can take those baby wipes, wipe your feet, and change socks. Maybe that'll help. That's an idea. But just keep in mind, um, don't judge people who are sleeping at the airport. Give them some space. Don't be loud. Keep your kids away from them. They've been maybe traveling since 2 a.m. from Antigua, from Guatemala. And then they got charged $350 for their luggage and then weren't given any water. Then had an 8-hour layover in LAX, that maybe one of the worst airports on earth. And they just want to be left alone in a quiet place. So why you take your kids right next to them is beyond me, hypothetically. Toronto Airport, awful. Kelowna Airport, stop losing my luggage. Now, while I think of some other stuff to rant about, I get on this flight. Where do I start? Oh, my Uber on the way rear-ended someone. She was the worst driver I've ever been with. And she was trying to be cool. She was like 50 plus, 60 plus, playing hip hop music and like talking to me and stuff and like looking at me while she talked. And I was like, ma'am, I just want to get to the airport safely. Can you stop whatever you're doing here? Maybe it was flirting. Then she rear-ended someone. So then I get there and something else bad happened. But I wish, because I was already stewing. So I get on the flight and I go to sit in my seat. And there's someone sitting in my seat. This couple with masks on, even though we've learned that masks don't do anything, wearing masks, going home for the holidays, and I paid for a window seat. I was just given it, like I paid in advance to buy a window seat because I can only sleep in a window seat. And it's a long flight back home. And they won't move. And even before I was walking up, the stewardess, she was brilliant. She was like, hey, this isn't your seat. You have to move. And she was like telling them to move. I haven't said a word because I'm just like going to see how this plays out. Also, I'm one of the last ones getting on the plane. So everyone's kind of looking at this scenario. And I'm not going to be the guy who ends up on TikTok upset over a seat. Speaking of which, people will get on flights super early and like get up and line up. You're also crazy. You're the same as the ones who like stand up when the plane lands. When we have assigned seats, why do you care about like rushing to get on the airplane so fast? I don't get that. There's another rant we could add it. So she's like, you have to move. And I'm just standing there in the aisle, just kind of like, it's early in the morning. I'm not a morning person. Dumbfounded. I'm in this scenario. And then some woman behind the two says to me, you know what? You're lucky to even make it home. 14 people didn't even get to go home on this day, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think I've really given many death stares, but I gave this woman as much of a STFU with my eyes as I could. But I wasn't going to say it because one, it was a woman. If it was a guy, ooh, good question. I probably would have cursed that motherfucker out if it was a guy. Hands down. Oh my God. But I did say, I was like, well, you're so bubbly. Why don't you just give me your window seat then if it doesn't matter? Because I paid for this one. I didn't say that. In my head, I did. I had so many things I wanted to say that I kept in my head. 25-year-old me probably wouldn't have. Again, it was a woman, so I would have. But if it was a dude, whoa, he would have gotten lit the fuck up. So she says this to me, and I'm like, again, in my head, I'm like, I wish you were in my inner monologue for everything that I was rolling through, because you would have absolutely loved it. And I'm just like, I haven't said a word, miss. The stewardess is trying to move people who are in the seat I paid for, and they would not move. And I was like, and she's like, oh, well, she goes, I'll move you. Finally, the stewardess like understood like the scenario. I had still hadn't said anything because again, I don't want to be the guy who's up on TikTok screaming at someone or making a fuss. And she goes, "Okay, well, there's a first class seat open. I'll give you that one." And I said, "Great." And you know what? After all, patience, I think, is a virtue, as they say. And I think turning the other cheek, and what's the word, like the secret? Positivity, putting out in the world what you want to give back. I did that in that trying time. And I'm rewarded with this first class seat. As I turn around, a woman in her 60s, 70s plus stood up and she goes, "Well, I was moved from my seat," and she was in an aisle seat. "I was moved from my seat. I want the first class. I'll take that." And like she sat right where I was and then walked to the front. And I was just like, I didn't really look at the stewardess because I didn't want to make it look like I gave her like a side eye, like, okay. Again, she's probably 70s, 60-year-old woman. I'm not gonna say no to that. I was just in a rock and a hard place the entire time. I was like, I couldn't say anything. I was just sometimes you have to stand there and be a good Catholic, I guess. But I was inside, I was stewing. I was like, all right. Then I end up with a middle seat on this whole flight home. No space, two larger people next to me. And the woman next to me, she was really nice. She was like, "Sorry about your luck." I was like, "Thank you." But the waiters, what are they called? Hostess? Whatever, the travel. Sorry, I'm so flustered after this story. Stewards and stewardesses, they hooked me up with drinks all the way home. So that was really nice of them. And they made the best out of the worst. Meanwhile, Avianca can't even give me fucking water. But at least at Alaska Airlines, they hooked it up with alcohol for the issue. So that was nice. And then WestJet. I hate WestJet. WestJet is the worst, is third worst behind the other two I just mentioned, Avianca and Tag. WestJet, when you have to like get a hold of them, you have to book something with them like days in advance because they're not even staffed properly. And then I'm on I take my AirPods out most of the time. Again, I was already frustrated. This is on my way home. Oh, and then they lost my bags on the flight with the people who took my seat a lot. Then my bags were lost. So it was just rear end, stolen seat, lost bags, shithousery overall. I think a delayed flight as well. On the way home, I'm just done with airlines. And I have my AirPods in the morning. And like as I'm going through, I press pause on the podcast I'm listening to. And so I can, I'm going to talk to the person who's checking my stuff. And they're like, you have to take your AirPods out. And it's just one of those things that they just do it just to do it, even though it makes no sense. Like, I can hear you. It's fine. Don't just do it just because you want to make someone take their AirPods out. So I get that one a little bit, so I'm not going to fight it too much. It just annoys me because first of all, right when I got to her, I gave her my passport and my ticket, scanned my ticket. That was all we needed to talk about. There was no talking. Yet she still wanted me to take them off. Yet I'm allowed to put them on the second I get on the plane. So I'm sitting there, shoes off. As we mentioned, I take my shoes off. And this lady was like, and we're already delayed an hour. And she's like, you have to put your shoes on. The stewardess. I'm like, why? She's like, you just have to. And I'm like, I've been on 1,000 flights. I've never been told I have to put my shoes on. It's a safety precaution. I was like, I'm pretty sure if this plane goes down, shoes on aren't going to be the issue. I'm also old enough where if I have to walk in bare feet because of my choice, I made that bed and I'll sleep in it. Kind of like I said in the last podcast, where Guatemala just lets you do whatever you want. And if you screw up and you die, that's on you. Because you know what? Maybe you shouldn't have been doing that dumb thing. It's Darwinism. Same thing in this instance, but the opposite. They're just like especially in Canada, they're so anal with the rules. Like, oh, you can't do that. Like, why does it matter if my shoes are on or off? If we have to get off the plane and I have to walk barefoot, that's on me, not on you. I'll be able to walk 10 feet in my bare feet or in my sock feet. Sorry. Wear socks. Always wear socks, everyone. If I can't get the shoes on in time or whatever. So that's just annoying. And I was like, imagine if everyone on the plane had their shoes off and she has to stop and tell every single person. Now she has wasted 30 more minutes of our time. Why don't you get this plane and this show on the road? Because we're already late an hour because of whatever tomfoolery you have going on. Don't worry about my shoes and my feet well-being if I have to walk on the tarmac or whatever reason. Oh, very angry rant today. But the Avianca thing just set me off. So it had to be told. And then I asked people on social media what they would like to include. And those were some of the things. I think that's it. Let me go through my notes. Yeah, mostly just don't get Clear. And yeah, Clear wasn't even open in LAX one time at 9 o'clock. One of the biggest airports on earth, Clear was not open at 9 p.m. I think it was like 8:37. They weren't open. Insanity. Clear, you waste of money. Avianca, I hate you. Send me my money back and send me a bottle of water. And then I won't hate you anymore. Tag, worst. WestJet, do better. Customer service, please. Please, that's all we ask for. And overall, travel people, I know that I can only imagine if you are TSA and if you are a travel worker, the amount of idiots you have to put up with. But stop changing the rules and know that the rules are changed everywhere we go. So it's not our fault if sometimes the computers are in or shoes or whatever. Let's just keep consistent or stop just making dumbass rules. This is the greatest travel podcast and apparently the most angry travel podcast in the universe. I'm Fraser Laveay, inspiredtraveleat.com. I'm usually quite happy. I have a children's charity that we did great things in Guatemala. Please follow that. Change Your Stars Foundation at Change Your Stars Foundation on Instagram. I'm actually a really happy person. Just this stuff. I don't lose my temper. I didn't lose my temper in any of these scenarios. So now I have to just voice it through this forum since I wasn't allowed to yell at them in person. Have a great day. InspiredTraveleat.com.